Hey, it's Kelly here. This is Get Surreal, and I'm going to be talking about shows and movies that have some sort of surreal or otherworldly element to them. Right now, I am obsessed with the return of Twin Peaks, huge Twin Peaks fan, and I realized that even though we're over halfway through this season, might as well just jump on in with episode 12, Let's Rock. Okay, so first off, I thought it was really cool that we were able to get more context behind the Blue Rose case to really get an explanation of it. I don't think a lot of people, including me, were all that surprised about this revelation. I think we assumed that it was very tied to the mysteries of UFOs, of visitors, of things that may or may not be attached to extraterrestrial life. So I just having Albert lay it out there, I thought was great, but I wish we would have had some more connection as to what does this have to do with Agent Dale Cooper, the other agents and their disappearances. Why is there this very specific connection? We have a lot of hints, but I wanted him to explain that to Tammy. Maybe we'll get more about that in upcoming episodes. So yeah, Tammy's like, bring it on. I want to be part of that force. And yeah, I'm hoping that we do learn more about Tammy in the upcoming episodes. I think she has the potential to be a pretty cool, likable character. She's been obviously one-dimensional pretty much up until now. It's like, oh, we just learned that she had amazing academic credentials and we know she has nice hips. Yeah, I mean, I'm reading the secret history of Twin Peaks right now, so I'm getting a little bit more into the essence of who she is. But yeah, I would like to think she goes home in the evenings and like, you know, smokes a joint and then breaks out her electric guitar. Maybe she's part of like a female-fronted punk band, and yeah, she probably just like has tea and reads alternate history books and does Pilates and goes to bed by 10 p.m. sharp. Probably more accurate. But anyway, yeah, so there's that. And then let's see, Diane comes in. She's going to be a temporary deputy. It was interesting to me that they had, okay, so Tammy was on one side of the red curtain with the red curtains in the background, and then Diane comes through, she parts the red curtains. These are two people that I have been feeling suspicious about. I mean, clearly we have more reason to be suspicious about Diane, but then I was also thinking like, Tammy does seem kind of mysterious. Probably don't have a lot of reason up until this point to doubt her intentions, but I don't know. I thought the red curtain thing on either side was interesting, and probably not going to read too much into it, but you know, just in Twin Peaks, it's like, nothing seems totally random or unintentional. The setting, the scenes, it's hard not to read into every little bit and piece. So yeah, anyway, moving on with that. I was actually, so when Diane said let's rock and she did like the kind of like gun hand gesture, I had to look up in the original series whether the arm when he's in the Black Lodge does that gesture when he says let's rock, and it didn't really see anything that resembled that, but I thought that would be very interesting if there was that sort of explicit connection. Okay, so going on, we see poor Jerry Horn. He's running on his 2 feet, so gorgeous backdrop there. So I was really happy to see that he's doing all right. We can assume anyway. Yeah, I was almost thinking that he was going to be in the same location that maybe this Jack Rabbit's palace is, maybe where the coordinates are, and that there's going to be some sort of merging of the groups together with him all in the same spot. But doesn't seem like he's going to necessarily be part of that. So yeah, just hope he's able to get to a safe place. And we see Sarah Palmer there in what is Carrie's grocery store, and shopping for some Bloody Marys. She likes them like I do, same part vodka and tomato juice. Yeah. So yeah, this was, I thought, a really fascinating, really intriguing scene, my favorite scene of the episode altogether. So here she is, she's looking at this turkey jerky next to the beef jerky, and it's like, at first it's like, is she longingly just looking at it like she wants some jerky in her Bloody Mary? Then it's like, well, no, she's like eyeing this with fear and suspicion. She finds something about it very alarming, and what is it exactly? And then, you know, based on how she's questioning the cashier about it, you know, she asks, were you here when this came in? That got me thinking about, you know, this whole notion of parallel universes and how that seems to be hinted at in several ways throughout the series. And, you know, maybe she knew of a scenario where, like, it was the same time, but the jerky wasn't there. I don't know. I just thought that question really got me curious. You know, she says there are men coming. What does that mean? She's a fascinating character. She really knows something. And then when Hawk goes to check on her later, it's like, that cracked me up when she was like, there's no one in my kitchen. That was just something moving in the kitchen. It's like, yeah, I feel like there's something very mysterious going on there. So we get to see more of my darling Carl Rod with his magic carriage summoning flute, and I would love to see him do that again at some point. So in this particular scene, he's talking to Crisco. It does kind of make you wonder sometimes, are we being introduced to these characters because they are going to be returning and having a role in the larger narrative at any point? Or, you know, I think a lot of times what this series, with this season in particular, is doing is rather than developing characters, it's developing the landscape of this world that we're in. So we're seeing all the interlocking pieces, we're seeing like a montage of this world and having it grow rather than having specific characters grow, which I think, you know, it's I'm accepting it. I'm kind of disappointed in one sense that we're not seeing more growth from characters that have been introduced, and we're not seeing more depth from our old beloved characters. But I'm just trying to accept what's being presented at me for all the brilliance of what it is, and just accept that it's defying conventional storytelling techniques. And I might be disappointed by it sometimes. That's okay, but I'm along for the ride. Only a few seconds of Dougie Coop this time. Doesn't seem like we're going to be getting him back. I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be, still might be a while. But we'll see. We'll see. We see Diane doing what she does best, which is drink lots of alcohol, smoke cigarettes, and wear animal print. And so, you know, she does that text where it's like, let's see, the question is Las Vegas, and she responds with, they haven't asked yet. And I was paying very close attention to the details of this text. I even paused it and made note of the timestamp on it and the punctuation, because, you know, there was that discrepancy last time we saw her do a text where it's like, Evil Coop sent a message about what was the table? I'm drawing a blank right now, something around the table. Yeah, it was punctuated differently when she received it from when he sent it. So that made me think, was he maybe sending it out toward a larger group? Maybe it was going through someone else and then the message was relayed to her. I don't know. It's really questionable. So I'm thinking there might be somebody else involved in this whole exchange, and I don't know if she's necessarily in cahoots directly with Evil Coop. I don't know, Diane. I don't know about you. Okay, so we're at the Great Northern. I'm really loving what Ben has become. He has become a complex, likable character. Definitely more of a moral compass than what he had in seasons 1 and 2. So Beverly, I was trying to take stock of, you know, their tone. It's like, we know they may have had dinner together, but did anything happen? They seemed to be professional, maybe distant, but still friendly. Who knows at this point? But, you know, so Frank Truman comes in, they talk about the key. Yeah, Ben mentions this whole thing about Richard where it's like he never had a father. So I am concerned that this might play into the whole theory of his evil coop, Richard's father. And it seems like it's really going in that direction, which is pretty terrifying. There's no more humming in the Great Northern at this point. So I don't know if they ever really talked about why that stopped. At least I don't have any recollection of that. So we have the whole thing with Gordon and his lady companion who looks like she stepped right out of the 50s, like from an I Love Lucy set. Yeah, a lot of resemblances there to the miming act we got in the beginning of Fire Walk with Me, where there are all these clues being revealed. But I don't think there was so much a direct connection as that this is just like a Lynch aesthetic. I did want to note that I was so delighted that Miguel Ferrer was able to be on this many episodes before he passed. He's just he's so lovable. I think he adds so much to the scenes with Gordon and with Tammy. Such a memorable character in the whole narrative of Twin Peaks. All right, see Dr. Jacoby again. He's still angry at the government. He doesn't seem to be angry at any particular policy, just in general expressing vitriol about the betrayal of the government to our people. And Nadine is looking on with adoring eyes, as always, as she continues to drink her 7 o'clock beverage. Is it 7 o'clock is where you're supposed to question when you're supposed to question where your freedom is? I do believe so. Yeah, so we go on to oh my god, there's Audrey finally. So this scene was super bizarre, right? I will say I didn't have any particular expectations for what Audrey was going to become, but I was kind of like annoyed by her presence. Just she seemed to be just so over the top, bitter and just snide and impatient. There just didn't seem to be a whole lot to her to really be drawn to, I thought, but maybe we'll see more. So she's married to this Charlie guy who seems to be stuck in like 1986 or whatever. He's got his rotary phone, he's got his old school Rolodex, he's got piles of physical papers, like doesn't seem to use a computer or whatever. Yeah, it's like their marriage. It's interesting. It seems to be likely that rather than a marriage of love, that type of union, it was like maybe a marriage of mutual benefit of some sort. So maybe it's like, I don't know. I was speculating. I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to find out, but you know, maybe there's some sort of scenario where it's like Audrey was horribly disfigured at the bank explosion, and then maybe there was this situation where he like offered to pay for her very expensive surgical operations in exchange for a marriage. But then I'm like, I don't know, that seems weird and not like Audrey, and it seems like her family would have been able to support her. They're pretty well off. You know, so who knows? She did seem so insistent that he accompany her, and I'm thinking, okay, that was my cat, by the way, sorry. If she resists his company so much, if she's so bitter toward him, like why does she really want him to come with her to search for Billy? Yeah, I mean, it seems like she would be able to drive. I mean, especially if she's like out banging Billy on the side. You think that you know, she's still able to get around. She doesn't necessarily have to rely on him for transportation or whatever the case may be. So anyway, she really wants him to come along. Yeah, so I gotta say that I am feeling a bit let down by the lack of strong, engaging, likable female characters that we're getting in this season. So, I mean, Janie E has her moments. You could say Lucy has her moments. Constance is great, but she's such a small character. We get all these great male characters then. We have, you know, Hawk is so lovable. Bobby's really great this season. So is Ben Horn, Frank Truman, Carl Rod. There just seems to be an imbalance there. I mean, we have, of course, our asshole male characters too, but for the most part, the females tend to be portrayed as either highly sexualized characters that don't have a lot of dimension to them, or they're just like cranky, bitchy, whining, nagging characters, or they're just like messed up druggies. There is a lot of paperwork to be done this season. I mean, I guess it's like, it's not tax season, right? It's like late September, early October, but Norma, man, she is like overloaded with bookkeeping right now. That's all we see her doing. And this Charlie guy just has like stacks upon stacks. Is he like, I don't know what he is, like an accountant? It's hard to say, but anyway, lots of paperwork going on for sure. We see Diane back at the bar. We, at this point, have 7 minutes left, and there was the guy vacuuming at the bar, and I'm like, oh, is it going to be one of those scenes again where it's just like somebody vacuuming and then that's the end of the episode? But no, there's plenty of dialogue left. So at this point, Diane enters the coordinates that she somehow memorized, and of course it's Twin Peaks. I really got thinking around this time about some of the parallels between Twin Peaks, The Return, and The Stand by Stephen King, if you've read that book or seen the film, about how there are people in various parts of the country who have the goal of getting to a specific place where there's ultimately a confrontation of good and evil, and there's the Las Vegas element too. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, just got me thinking. I doubt there's any sort of direct connection there. We're back at the Roadhouse for the final scene, and we see a couple ladies chatting in a booth, and we finally see some youth in the town of Twin Peaks who aren't total degenerates. I mean, maybe they're not like, you know, perfectly upstanding citizens, but yeah, it seems like in the town of Twin Peaks, there's just so much corruption and so much drug use and just so much like filth and despair. So yeah, it was interesting to see like people who at least looked fairly clean cut in contrast. So a lot of people were disappointed with the momentum of this particular episode, understandably enough, especially after the last one presented so many juicy bits. I'm one though where I'm fine with the slower pace. It doesn't really bother me as long as I feel like there's some mystery, there's intrigue, there's beauty, there's emotion, we have clever, engaging scenes, which I didn't really experience as much in this episode. So in a lot of ways it fell flat for me, but I did appreciate this foreboding tone that it presented. So seeing the fog roll over the trees, the foreboding music, the scenes with Sarah Palmer, that was all pretty damn cool. Yeah, normally when it gets to the Roadhouse and we have the musical performance, I'm like, no, it's over. But this time, like, honestly, I wasn't as disappointed that the episode was over just because I wasn't as enthralled with it necessarily. But still enthralled with the series as a whole and am excited for episode 13. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.